Hi, Manifest Nation here again. Just do a bit of research with you watching. I'll give you a little example of how we're deceived on things. This is looking deeper into what terahertz are, or they like to call them tremendously high frequency. I'll just read this part, just in case you can't see it. The first meaning that comes to mind when speaking of terahertz is a unit of measure of frequency that is equal to 1 trillion hertz, 10 to the power of 12 hertz. It is this why terahertz waves are sometimes also referred to as tremendously high frequency, while other known names are T-rays, T-waves, sub-millimeter radiation, T-lux, T-light, T-lux, is usually related to the frequency of an electromagnetic wave, which is part of the electromagnetic spectrum, invisible to the naked eye, that lies in between the microwave, MW, and the infrared, IR, range. THC waves are an example of a specific part of the electromagnetic spectrum, within bands ranging from 0.3 to 3 terahertz, as was designed by the International Telecommunication Union. You see this little graph? Frequency in hertz. One end, long wave. It says long wave on the far left. Okay, long wave. Then it's radio TV. Then it's microwaves. Then it's terahertz, then it's infrared, then it's the visible light spectrum, then ultraviolet, X-rays and gamma rays. It is worthwhile pointing out here that TerraSense imagers employ only a part of the terahertz frequency spectrum between 50 gigahertz, which actually falls into sub-terahertz region, and 0.7 terahertz, i.e. the lower terahertz range. Very often, terahertz frequency radiation is called a terahertz gap, because compared to the adjacent microwave and infrared spectra that are used extensively, T-rays technology is relatively young and therefore is not so popular. At such frequencies, the electromagnetic radiation becomes too high or too thin to be digitally measured, and using electronic counters, and so it must be measured in proxy through the use of properties of wavelength and energy. Terahertz imaging cameras operate based on measuring the intensity of terahertz waves reaching the sensor array after penetrating the target material, which allows to detect, visualize hidden defects or objects. The generation and modulation of electromagnetic signals in this range are also very hard to do with conventional electromagnetic devices used in generating radio waves and microwaves. All that requires further research, which TerraSense, among other leading manufacturers in the industry, conducts on continuous basis. That should have an A in, bro. Of course, it is the unique properties of T-rays that harmlessly penetrate many common materials that attract many researchers and industrialists and offer boundless capabilities in many areas. Slowly but surely, terahertz waves are finding their utility in many industrial fields. Recently, an increasingly growing interest is observed for terahertz imaging technology relative to medical diagnostics, food, agriculture and hygiene products, pharmaceutical and cosmetic items, and other areas where human health is of utmost importance, and where X-rays are not desirable or even acceptable due to ionizing radiation. Okay, I won't take you through all this, but just in case you can read it, I'll just go down so you can read that part. Now let's go to this. Can we do it like that? How does... there you go. A micrometer, that's UM, is a decimal fraction of the SI unit of wavelength meter. Example, infrared rays typically have frequencies of 1 to 400 terahertz wavelength, 300 to 0.7 UM, which is the micrometer. A hertz, HZ, is the SI unit of frequency, hertz, defined as a number of cycles per second of a periodic phenomenon. Right. Hang on. Long wave radiation. And let me put this in. What's the UM of a mobile phone? Yeah. What a coincidence, they don't tell you. It's just advertising. Let's go to the wiki, see if they actually tell you. Ooh, look at them. I remember all them. Let's see if we can see the UM. Infrastructure, hardware, software, sales, use. There we go. Let's see if this says. Nope. Well, let me tell you, right, how this works. Oh, I can probably find it. Hang on, let me pause you. Right, I'll just give you this chart while I'm here, because this is microwatts per square meter. And the reason I bring you to this chart is because when you've got your Wi-Fi, the things on the lamp posts, the signals all over, your neighbours, the phone in your pocket, the phone on the side, your friend's phone. You might have 10 different sources beaming onto you from different areas. So you have to evaluate microwatts per square meter. And when they were doing tests on the safety of mobile phones, they used something that's called a SAM phantom head. And basically they just strapped a phone to the side of the head and they measure it on heat alone. Heat, okay? And I'll come back to that when I talk about microwave ovens. But the heat is only measured from a single source. They did not put a Wi-Fi unit behind a person, a mobile phone in the person's pocket next to them, plus the phone against their head. It actually says in mobile phone manuals to not have that phone next to your head more than 30 minutes. Do not put it any closer than an inch or 3/4 of an inch to your body. Just don't do it. And we keep them in our pockets next to our genitals. Okay? If it was that important, they wouldn't have hid it in a manual they don't give you. Think about this. Why did they do that? Because they would not make as much money. I'll pause you again. Right. I'll resume you again. This is not the article in which I was looking for, but I think it's got relevance. Toxic stimulus. And where performed under pristine conditions, this contradicts real-life exposure, where humans are exposed to multiple toxic stimuli in parallel over time. In perhaps 5% of the cases reported in the wireless radiation literature, a second stressor, mainly a biological or chemical toxic stimulus, was added to the wireless radiation stressor to ascertain whether additive, synergistic, potentiative, or antagonistic effects were generated by the combination. Combination experiments are extremely important because when other toxic stimuli are considered in combination either with each other or with wireless radiation, the synergies tend to enhance the adverse effects of each stimulus in isolation. This was shown in several studies that evaluated the cumulative effects of chronic exposure to low doses of xenobiotics in combination. For those combinations that include wireless radiation, combined exposure to toxic stimuli and wireless radiation translates into much lower levels of tolerance for each toxic stimulus in the combination relative to its exposure level that produce adverse effects in isolation. Accordingly, the exposure limits for wireless radiation, when examined in combination with other potentially toxic stimuli, would be far lower for safety purposes than those derived from wireless radiation exposures in isolation. Thus, almost all the wireless radiation laboratory experiments that have been performed to date are flawed, limited with respect to showing the full adverse impact of wireless radiation that would be expected under real-life conditions. Either 1, non-inclusive of signal information, or 2, using single stressors only tend to underestimate the seriousness of the adverse effects from wireless radiation. Excluding both of these phenomena from experiments, as was done in the vast that's a wrong bit. But this I'll read to you as well, because this actually has the microwatts in meters squared. This is the bit I was looking for. Right, let's just start from the top. Carcinogenicity, which is cancer, brain tumours, glioma, breast cancer, acoustic neuromas, leukemia, parotid gland tumours, genotoxicity, DNA damage, DNA repair inhibition, chromatin structure, mutagenicity, tetrodogenicity, neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's disease and amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, neurobehavioral problems, autism, reproductive problems, pregnancy outcomes, excessive reactive oxygen species, oxidative stress, inflammation, apoptosis, blood-brain barrier disruption, pineal gland, melatonin production, sleep disturbance, headache, irritability, fatigue, concentration difficulties, depression, dizziness, tinnitus, burning of flushed skin, digestive disturbances, trauma, cardiac irregularities, adverse impacts on the neural, circulatory, immune, endocrine, and skeletal system. From the perspective, RF is a highly pervasive cause of disease. The response from industry has been that no mechanism could explain the biological action of non-thermal and non-ionizing EM fields, yet reports of clear perturbations of biological systems at level near, even below 1,000 microwatts per meter squared, I won't read that, were explained by perturbations in electron and proton transfer, supported ATP production in mitochondria, exposed to RF or ELF signals. To obtain another perspective on the full spectrum of adverse effects from wireless radiation, a query was run on Medline to retrieve representative records. associated with adverse EMF effects, mainly but not solely RF. Other 4,400 records were retrieved and leading medical subjects headings, MESH, extracted. The categories of adverse impacts from both approaches match quite well. And I'll pause you again. Right, back again. By the way, I will just say that this was screen captured from a channel that I follow called The Conscious Resistance. Very good guy. Dirt Bros. Follow the guy. He knows what he's talking about. Want to see him? Yeah. There you go. It's not a great picture of him, so. But here's his signal. His sign. There you go. It's not come out very clear, but I'll give him credit where it's due. This was from a recent study on toxicology. Okay. I'll just read some of this because they do actually go into it. In fact, I'll show it so you can maybe read it. There you go. But it's parts like this within the skip. Is that not there? Yeah. Let me read this part. The common wisdom presented in the literature and media is that if there are adverse impacts resulting from high band 5G, the main impacts will be focused on near surface phenomena such as skin cancer, cataracts and other skin conditions. However, there is evidence that biological responses to millimeter wave radiation can be initiated within the skin, and the subsequent systemic signaling in the skin can result in psychological effects on the nervous system, heart and immune system. Additionally, consider the following reference, and it's a very obscure one, 1977. This is one of many translations of the article produced in the former Soviet Union on wireless radiation. Also see reviews of Soviet research on the topic by, and then it goes on to say the article by Zalia Yabovskaya, I hope I've done him justice, addresses biological effects on millimeter radio waves. The guy ran experiments using power fluxes of 10 million microwatts per meter squared. That'll be. But then it goes down to the next bit. But there may be windows in parameter space where adverse effects occur, and operation outside these windows would show no effects or be hermetic effects. Therapeutic effects, for example, if information context of the signal is a strong contributor to adverse health effects. Panagopoulos, crikey, they love big words. Then experiments that involve only the carrier frequencies may be outside the window where adverse health effects occur. Alternatively, in this specific example, the carrier signals and the information signals could be viewed as combination of potential toxic stimuli, where the adverse effects of each component are enabled because of synergistic effects. I'm just going to leave it there, and I'm going to go on to microwaves. Okay, hang on, I'm going to pause you just for a second. Oi, back again. Right, I'll just leave it on this, and then I'll just talk, and I'll give you an experiment to do yourself. Right, look at this graph in front of you. Frequency being the fourth line down, okay, and then the bands are underneath it to signify where they stand. Can you see the radio spectrum with broadcast and wireless stroke microwave? Okay, you see that? and then you see terahertz, then you see infrared, and then you see the visible wavelengths, and then you see ultraviolet, X-ray, and gamma. Can you see the way that the radio spectrum is at one end, the far left, and it covers about a third of the whole graph, and then you've got terahertz infrared, which is far infrared and mid infrared, and then you get the visible wavelengths. Now you've got radio spectrum on one side, visible wavelength on the other side, with microwave in between. Right, I'll give you an experiment. If you put your phone inside of a microwave, they say that the holes on the front of the screen, so you can see in, is because of the long wavelengths are at such an angle that they don't penetrate those holes, they bounce off of it. Fair enough, we'll take them what they say. Broadcast and wireless is on one side of it and visible wavelength on the other side. You put your phone, do not ever turn your phone on while it's in the microwave, ever. Nothing metallic must ever be in your microwave when you turn it on. But if you go into that, put your phone inside your microwave so you can see the screen, and then like be playing a video from your wireless, look inside there. You can see the colours. You can see, like if you watch my videos, you can see me waving back at you, see me talking. So the visible wavelengths are coming through those holes, obviously, because you can see your food inside. But you can also see the video still playing from your wireless network. So you've got both sides of that band with the microwave in between coming out. If you can see those colours, that is a frequency. Red being, as you can see, I can zoom it. I didn't. Usually it doesn't let you. That's nanometers. It's in megahertz, gigahertz, terahertz, gigahertz microwave. Can you see this? Do I need to say more? Electronics to the left, optics to the right. At what point does your microwave stop its irradiation?